If you are working with Blender and need to get a PNG output of a 3D image from the viewport using the Workbench renderer, you're in the right place. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to just do that. First, you need to set up your scene and camera angle in Blender's 3D viewport. Once you have everything in place, press the render button in the top menu or press the F12 on your keyboard to open the render settings panel. In the render settings panel, select Workbench as the render engine. This will enable you to use the Workbench renderer to create your PNG output. Next, under the dimensions section, set the resolution and aspect ratio of your image. This will determine the size of your final output. Under the output section, make sure that the file format is set to PNG and choose the color depth. This will ensure that your output is saved in the correct form and quality. Choose a file path to save your image. This is where your PNG output will be saved once it's rendered. Finally, click the render button to render your image from the viewport and save it as a PNG file. You'll be able to see your image as it is rendered in real time in the viewport. So I'm going to be explaining some of the steps that you need to do before you can output your image. First, as I said before, you need to set the render engine as of Workbench instead of Eevee or Cycles. The Workbench is the fastest way to render your image without any hassle and any problems. Okay. Next of all, I would recommend changing the sampling to a higher number so that you have the highest quality when you are saving your image. In the lighting menu, we have different settings. We could use the studio. As you can see, we have around 6 different types, which I'll show you the output. Okay, so let's choose this one. Okay, and then I'm going to press F12 on the keyboard, and you can see the output in a moment. Okay, so this is one of the settings that you can choose. As you can see, it has different colors, but the style is the same. The reason for the different colors is because I have chosen the color to be random. If I choose it, for example, to be like single, and I choose a specific color, let's say blue, and now I press the F12, you will see that the image rendered is different to what we saw in the last one. Okay, as you can see. So this is a really important thing to keep in mind. I'm going to close this. So the studio lighting is what you can see. Just to show you the differences, I will change it to this setup, and you can see. So the light is somehow rotating around the object. Okay, so the light is lighting up the scene from another angle. Okay. The other setting we could use is the matte cap. In the matte cap settings, we have a number of various different materials. So you could use the simple one, or you could use perhaps like the clay style. Okay, so I'm going to use the clay and the object, let's say. I'm going to press F12 again, and you can see the output. Okay, so it looks really interesting, and this would really help you out if you want to like add some images to your poster or like a project you're working on and you haven't finalized the materials or the lighting, but you want to have some really high quality outputs. So this is like a really good choice, depending on what you're working with. Like if you're rendering a car, like you have modeled a car or a vehicle or some sort, you might want to choose this option or these two, because it's a really like standard for car renderings. So in this one, it will load in a second. You can see the difference. Okay, so it's like very silver like, and it has a really good reflections and stuff like that. Okay, so another settings that might be interesting is this type. It has like a really high reflection, and you could actually use the color to random, and I'm then going to press F12 again, and you can see like we have high reflections and different colors. So it's really interesting and beautiful way to output your work. Okay, so you can tweak this out. I'm not going to be going through every single one of them, but you can see the differences. This one is interesting too. It has like a cartoonish stylized look to it, so this might be interesting for some of you as well. I'm just going to show you differences. Okay, so this is really interesting. It's like an anime style version of the model. Okay, so you can check out the rest. Okay, the other one is the flat one. If I close the cavity and the outline, let's see what it looks like. It will have like a flat color with no shadows and stuff like that. So you can see you can't see depth. It's not understandable. It might be good for showing diagrams and stuff, but normally if you're going to use flat, it would be a good idea to use the cavity and the outline as well. So if I press F12 now, you can see the difference. As you can see, we can now see the lines, and it puts it more into a perspective view. Okay, so this would help out a lot. If you want to, like, instead of pressing the F12 button, you can set up some settings here. Like, I'm going to put the flat, and the flat option, and I'm going to change some of the stuff here. Okay, so the outline, you can see the cavity, you know, like this is the effect this has on the design. Another thing you could do is just switch to the viewport, to the render shading. Okay, so this will show you what it's going to render. Okay, if I change the settings here, it's going to change them on our viewport as well. So this could really help you out instead of going back and forth to the F12 button and stuff like that. Okay, so the cavity and the outline, you can see the effect this has. The depth of field, it won't really work here because we are on the orthographic view. If I put it into a perspective view, the depth of field will show, but I would recommend using the orthographic view normally for everyone. Okay, so after the color and the lighting and some stuff you have seen here, you could use the X-ray. I'm not sure what you could use it for, but for anyone who's interested. Or okay, my mouse just shut down. Okay, you could use the shadow, which the shadow will increase the, which is not working right now. Okay, let's just put a number. Okay, you can see the shadow increases this type of view. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the shadow so it doesn't hang so much. The shadow really puts your CPU into work. Okay, so don't forget that. An important thing that you need to keep in mind is like ticking the transparent option here. This will allow you to have like real PNG outputs, because if you don't tick this, the PNG file you're saving will have a background, but if you tick this, your image will be a cutout version of the model you want. So it would be really good if you're going to like add it to Photoshop or some other software you're working with for 2D images and stuff like that. So you can check out the other stuff as well, but I'm going to go to the next tab, which is really important, and that is the output properties. Okay, so in the output properties, the most important thing that you might want to keep in mind is the resolution. So if you want like 5,000 to 5,000 pixel resolution, you have to choose it here. And like if I press the F12 now, it's going to take a little bit more time than it did in the previous images because the output is humongously more bigger right now. So we're going to take a few seconds. Okay, so now we can see the 5,000 pixels is really 5,000 pixels. So this would help out as well if you need to like print out your design in a huge resolution. Okay, so that's the important thing up here. And down here you might want to keep in mind to check the file format as a PNG, the color to be an RGBA, or you could use black and white as well if you're interested. The color depth, I would recommend using the 16-bit color channels because it's more correct. And other than that, there is not much more to say. So this would be like the most important things about it. Okay, so that's it. With these simple steps, you can easily get a PNG output of a 3D image from the viewport using Blender's Workbench renderer. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and like the video.